Hey guys, Cam for 15 back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another One Piece anime episode review for you guys as we are continuing on with this One Piece greatness. Now coming back after the holiday break, we have the first new episode, officially the first start to the Egghead arc in the anime. And man, what an insane start. Um, you get the destruction of the Lulusia kingdom. You get we see Juri Bonney again, and the Straw Hats are in trouble. But obviously, the main talking point was the Lulusia kingdom destruction. Which, fun fact, I actually think I did do a manga chapter review of. I think I did do a manga chapter review of that moment in One Piece. Um, it's at the end of the day, it's absolutely crazy with what happens there in this episode in terms of Lulusia, and it shows you the world government is a diabolical ran just organization as a whole, to the fact that they don't even care about just regular people. Like we find out in this episode, the king and queen from Lulusia, they basically were at the reverie and they're like, wipe it off the map. Wipe it off the map. We don't care. We don't care. But anyways, let's get into it. Let's get into it. First things first, obviously the opening, the new opening, the visuals look pretty good. The opening song, I still have to listen to it more. But if you watch the opening, even if you're anime only, well, the visuals and the stuff that they show, yeah, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat. I won't talk about some things, but I was like, okay, this opening is very nice. I'm seeing moments where I'm like, I already read that in the manga, and I can't wait to see that stuff animated. So yes, and then we also have a new ending as well. We also have new eye catches, the little in between like ad stuff, which looks pretty cool. Now, obviously, number one thing is now with the Egghead arc starting, we have a new art style, new animation. I actually quite like it. It's different from Wano, albeit it still looks somewhat similar. In some cases, I know early on in the episode, like when they were first talking about the strides, it looked like there was some sort of weird like tint color added to it, some like weird filter. But hey, it looks good. It looks good at the end of the day. It looks fluid. It looks good. You know, obviously later on in the episode with the Straw Hats and when they're on the sea in the snow, you can tell like, okay, it's a little bit more of a softer animation. I quite like it. There's no issues for me there, so I'll take it. The animation in the opening was also pretty good too, so um definitely looking forward to see how the animation holds up for the Egghead arc. Now, we kind of end off this little stuff with the Luffy's dream and everything, and it's kind of just getting several other, Straw Hats reactions to it. Like Nami was like, huh, that of course, that sounds like you. And obviously Chopper thinks it's a pretty cool dream. And Frankie just comes in, he's like, well, that means we just gotta make you king of the pirates to accomplish that dream and everything. And albeit some Straw Hats are like, well, that isn't exactly easy. And Robin brings up the point, well, in order for Luffy to become king of the pirates, well, we gotta find Laugh Tale, and essentially we gotta do that by finding the last rope poneglyph. Now they bring up the fact, well, Robin brings up the fact, like, listen, we got 3 of the rope poneglyphs down. We just got to find the last one. Now, the only problem with the last one is we have no idea where the last one is, because we know there's one road poneglyph in Zoe. There was a road poneglyph with Big Mom, and then obviously there's the road poneglyph that Kaido had in Wano that Sukiyaki showed Robin and Trafalgar Law. Now, where the last missing one is, who knows? Now, Kid at the end of the Wano arc brought up about the fact about the man um with a scar or something. I forgot what he called him. It was a man with a burning scar or something like that. And what's his fate? Kid elected to know, like, okay, maybe that could be a reason as to why or where the last road poneglyph could be. So right now, the Straw Hats have no idea where the last road poneglyph is. I imagine it's going to be a very tough find to see where the last rope poneglyph is because, well, guess what? It's not like they have anything to go off on, but who knows? Maybe they find it and then it leads them in directions, but they just need one more rope poneglyph and then they can find the direction to take him to Laugh-Tale. Now, in the meantime, we cut away from the Straw Hats. We kind of cut over to Big News Morgan, and he's talking about a bunch of the world events we've been seeing in the past few episodes, like BVB disappearing, the Reverie stuff, all the different alliances being made between some pirates and everything. Just basically further establishing the fact that the world of One Piece is going absolutely insane, absolutely crazy at this current point in time. Which, hey, it is going crazy. It is going crazy. Then we cut and we pick up right where we cut. Yeah, we cut and we pick up right where we left off with the Revolutionary Army. Because you remember, Sabo was giving them a call. The Marines ended up picking up a signal on that, and obviously the Revolutionary Army, they're all like wanting to know what's going on with Sabo because, well, guess what? They want to know if he actually killed Cobra. Now, Sabo radios in, and he essentially confirms that, okay, this is him and everything. All the Revolutionary Army members, they're all happy that Sabo's okay, he's all right. And then that's when he's like, all right, Dragon, listen, that headline you guys think, that is out there that you think I didn't kill Cobra. So he confirms he did not kill Cobra. Which would make sense. Why? As if he didn't kill Cobra, it clearly had to be something from the outside or some other force that did it. Probably the world government, because we know that Cobra had a lot of questions he wanted to ask the world government, and we know the world government doesn't like to typically ask these questions that, well, they have now. In between this moment, we cut over to Marijwa, and we're not only cutting over to the five elders, but we also see Emu, the shadowy, tall individual silhouette of the person we don't know. The only thing we see of Emu is their red eye, and basically they're radio like wiretapping in on what Sabo's conversation is. Now, the five elder stars are like, okay, where is his transmission coming from? And essentially the Marines tell them like it's coming from Lulusia, and they're like, Lulusia? They're like, wait a second, we just had their king and we just had their royals come in for the Reverie. And then they talk about essentially saying that there was a Revolutionary Army member that went there, somewhat liberated the country, and basically the people captured the king and they locked him up, and that's what we see in this episode. So basically, we have it to where this country is essentially being overruled by just common people. Like, they capture the king. Essentially, that's kind of the thing. Now, as Sabo's going more into description about what happened at Marijwa, he goes on to say, listen, I saw something absolutely insane. He goes on to talk about he saw something about the throne room, and he says he saw something that I never thought in his wildest dreams he would see. And he said he saw somebody sitting on that said throne in Castle Pangaea, essentially, which means he must have encountered Emu and seen Emu. Now, could that have been the moment when you go back to the Reverie arc, when the five elders are just bowing down at Emu's feet, and Emu's just sitting there on the freaking on the chair? Sabo may have probably saw that, and he saw that, and he somehow obviously got away from Marijwa. So it's absolutely crazy. Now, as they're saying that, and as he's about to go more into description about that, you have it to where the five elders, they contact the Marines. They're like, listen, cut off the communication right now. Cut it off. Cut it off. They basically told them, cut the cord off. Cut your feet off. You can't hear this. That's it. That's an order. Which goes to show you, so they don't want the Marines to hear that, okay, there is somebody that sits on top of Castle Pangaea, on top of a chair that no one is supposed to sit on, because that chair essentially symbolizes there is no one ruler. The world government is made up of 17 different countries, and each country is basically of equal status. Well, we know the world government as a whole. Emu doesn't feel like that. That's an overarching ruler right then and there. So it's funny how they tell the Marines, shut the communication off. They can't find this out about this because it will tie into the Void Century and blah, 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 blah. And essentially the Marines are like, all right, well, that's the thing. Now they talk about like, well, it seems like we got to freaking destroy Lulusia, I guess. And well, they do a perfect description. The fact that they get the map of Lulusia and basically they cross it off. And another added thing that the five elders told the Marine soldier to turn off after turning off the communications, essentially, he also the five elders basically told this guy, listen, act as if this conversation never 100% happened, and act as if Lulusia was never a kingdom to begin with. So they're legitimately telling this guy, forget everything you just heard. Act as if none of this conversation you heard ever happened. On top of it, this country that is a thing, forget as if this country ever existed. Like, talk about insane dictatorship to tell your employees. It's like literally legitimately going up to your employees like, listen, you ain't hear this conversation. Like, you hear a conversation like, oh, we're gonna fire this person. Act as if you never heard this conversation. Don't tell anybody. And act as you're going about your day, even though you may know what's going on. Also, too, forget as if that person ever existed. That's absolute wildness right there. It goes to show you that the world government is a crazy, crazy force and a crazy dictatorship. Now, we see the people of Lusia. They look up. There's clouds forming over Lusia, and these people are looking up and like, looks like there's some sort of weird object up in there. And then you just have it to where these lasers just start firing down on Lulusia, absolutely just destroying Lulusia and taking Lulusia off the face of the One Piece map. And all that's left is like this freaking sea quake and this hole that is left in place. A hole that obviously that looks a lot like freaking Ennis Lobby. Like the hole is that deep and everything, and it looks like the hole where Ennis Lobby floats over. Now, one or two things could happen. Now, I don't know what this weapon is. We don't know. No, I know what this weapon is, but I still don't know the basic understanding of this weapon. Now, the fact that this thing has massive lasers and everything, and it just annihilated a country that easy, it's worse than what they do when they call a buster call. Like, absolutely blowing this thing off the face of the map. My best speculation is the fact that this potentially is the ancient weapon, Uranus. Because the ancient weapons keep being built up as these weapons that basically are weapons of mass destruction, akin to nuclear bombs, essentially. And if the world government has their hands on an ancient weapon, well, it makes sense while they are able to shut the world up the way they are. Now, this very much could not be an ancient weapon. This could be something else that they may have that maybe dates back to the Void Century. But the thing is, we haven't seen what it looks like. Now, in the manga, when they did this moment, you can kind of outline it a bit. But in the anime, it's like they completely hide it in the clouds. Like, we don't see any outlines or anything. If I can go back to the chapter, I think we got like kind of an outline, or like, if anything, it was shown a little bit darker in the clouds. Like, you have these darker clouds and you can kind of somewhat see like, okay, you're trying to make something out, but you can't really see what it looks like. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. And now the second point is this gigantic crater in where Lulusia is. It looks awfully familiar like Ennis Lobby. So does that mean that this weapon was potentially used against the ancient kingdom in the Void Century, and maybe where Enies Lobby is, maybe that could be where the original kingdom of the Void Century is, the ancient kingdom. You know, that could be where Enies Lobby is at. And if we ever see Lulusia or pass by Lulusia and that hole is still there, well, then that just goes to show you, okay, before Enies Lobby was built, there was an island there. And the world government must have used this weapon to absolutely destroy this thing. So it's absolutely crazy. And the communications with Sabo cuts off. He was on Lulusia, and apparently it's implied that Sabo was killed. Now, obviously, the thing about about shows, animes, whatever, you can't imply somebody's dead until you see a body. So we didn't see any body of Sabo floating in the water. Well, you wouldn't even be able to see anything because, excuse me, you wouldn't be able to see any bodies because it's literally laser beams, and these laser beams would disintegrate people. So of course you wouldn't see nothing. So it's basically heavily implied that Sabo is dead now, which that means Luffy's second brother is potentially dead. That's just effing great. Anyways, moving off on that topic, we cut over to the Straw Hats. It's like 3 days later or something like that, and essentially, they're riding on these very hectic waves in this winter island because they're coming across the island, which probably is Egghead, and it seemingly enough, it looks like it's a winter island. And you know, you kind of see how the crew's working together to get the sails ready. You have your frickin' Zoro Sanji banter and everything, and you know, you just have it to where Jinbei, he's the one who's operating the ship. He's doing a great job avoiding icebergs and everything. And then you just have it to where Luffy is like, Nami, what the hell is that? And when they look up, they see there's like this gigantic like water with like this light in it, and you know, Luffy's like, I think I see somebody in there. And then we find out that this is a gigantic, that Jinbei knows that this is a warm eddy, essentially, like this large mass water forming. Now, Zoro, he cuts the warm eddy in half. Chopper, who ends up going out there, he ends up flying away. Luffy has to stretch out to grab him, but he ends up flying away. And the next thing you know, after Zoro cuts the warm eddy, Luffy sees the person screaming, and it's a little girl. Now, this little girl we see is actually a familiar face, and that is Jewelry Bonney. And it seems like she turned herself into a kid, and basically the episode ends off. One, what is Jewelry Bonney doing here? No idea. And then 2, the episode ends off where Jewelry Bonney's like, hey, there's something in the water, and then they all look down in the water, and clearly it's some sort of creature, you know, coming up looking like it's about to eat the freaking Sunny whole, and it's a gigantic like creature too. So we're left off on that cliffhanger, and we're gonna find out what happens next, and everything. So anyways, solid episode, solid start, and to the Egghead arc. Very great stuff right then and there. The Lulusia destruction, before I get out of here, it was everything I felt like it should be. It was very ominous, very intimidating, very scary, and just absolutely a crazy moment. I thought Toei did a great job depicting this moment in the anime, and you can sense the true terror and the dread that these people went through, seeing the destruction of their country and everything. But definitely looking forward to see where the show's gonna go next week and things like that. But till then, guys, stay safe out there. Have a great rest of your day or night in this video. Till then, guys, see you guys on the next One Piece review. Peace.